All right, what's up, guys? Monica's in the background today. We are actually not in the same location we usually film in, as you can see from the background behind us, because we are in Monica's mom's place, my mother-in-law's place, and we're in New York for the week. So, but we still wanted to make a video because we wanted to talk about some of the things that we've already experienced here in New York. And I'm gonna release some exciting news that I think is exciting, at least. And so I just want you guys to tune in for that. But let's talk about so far how our trip to New York has been, because, you know, over the last year or so, you guys have been hearing a lot of news from us that we want to move back to New York. And so far, from what we can see, it's not as bad as I was expecting it to be. And that's the thing about television and the media. This is why I don't watch the news as much as I used to watch it.
It's over sensationalized.
It's super sensationalized. We have not seen the migrants in the numbers that we thought we would see them in. And, you know, we spoke to our cab driver on the way back home because we just had dinner. And the cab driver told me that there are a lot of migrants by Midtown Manhattan, but we did not run across any of them. And we actually went to see a Broadway play, and there weren't any that we saw on the way over there. So, I mean, as far as we can tell, it looks like the same New York that we left behind when we left it a while ago.
I mean, we still have family over here. I have family over here. And we asked my brother, my mom. It's like, they haven't really told us anything. So it's nothing really significant.
Yeah. And I mean, the one thing that has changed is the cost of living, because it's still very expensive to live here. It's actually a lot more expensive.
Yeah.
So that's one thing that's probably keeping us from moving already.
Yeah, I wanted, there's 10 viewers right now, but I wanted to ask if anybody was interested. We were going to make some content about New York and how much my mom pays for rent, because it's not rent stabilized, but it's not necessarily Section 8, but her apartment's pretty affordable. And it's a 3-bedroom, 1.5 bath. And I thought, Jason, maybe we should do like an apartment tour. She lives on 5th Avenue. She lives in Harlem. And so I just thought it'd be interesting to see like what our lives were before we moved to California, and how we used to live, and how we all lived here, and how much of a commute I had to do, or he had to do. He had to go to work. So let us know.
And so one thing that's really cool about New York is that they have a lottery system. So if you make under a certain amount per year, you can actually apply for a lottery for an apartment. And these apartments are in some cases like in high-rise buildings.
It's a long shot.
Luxury buildings. It is a long shot. But I don't know if you guys go through TikTok, you'll see there's some people celebrating because they've won the apartment lottery. And they've been able to move into apartments that probably go for something like $4,000, $5,000, $6,000 a month. And it's only possible if you get it through a lottery if you're under a certain income limit. So, and usually that income limit for a couple and a family, it's what, under like 200,000 per year?
The criteria to get, I've been looking for years, maybe like 5 years now. The income criteria for you to have, in order for you to get a not necessarily rent stabilized or like an affordable home, it's insane. You for like a family of 4, you have to make. It doesn't even make sense. Do you remember the numbers, babe?
I don't know. It's like 120,000. It's on the low $100,000 range, and in some cases, it's even lower than that.
No, I saw one for like 200,000.
Well, that's lately the newest ones. Yeah, I can say that's true.
I was like, if you see an affordable apartment in New York and it's a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, and it's like $750 in Manhattan or Harlem, and you have to really look into the description. It'll say, income based. And it's so stupid how they do it like that, because not only you're paying for your living expenses, but you also have to think about, like, if you decide to get a car, childcare, your groceries, and it's expensive. Although
but you should mention also that most New Yorkers don't even drive. You know, the majority of New Yorkers just take the subway. But yeah, thanks, Ivan.
Somebody said, is it going to be turkey tomorrow or lechon? It's gonna be a Dominican Thanksgiving
It's
tomorrow.
gonna be mango tres golpes. Yeah. No. So usually it's lechon, but this year it's gonna be tres golpes.
So they said they're looking sharp. We just
Yeah.
came back.
Yeah.
Tomorrow's my birthday. Every once in a while,
Yeah.
my birthday lands on Thanksgiving. So Jason had to take me on a like fancy schmancy dinner, and we went to a rooftop restaurant called Manhattan.
Yeah, Manhattan.
So we were all we went to see a play, and then we went to go. He took me out to eat. So
Yeah. So if you guys are looking for a romantic restaurant to go to, that's definitely one of them.
There's plenty.
Yeah. There's there was one that we went to. It's called Asiat in Manhattan.
Yeah, that was my favorite in Columbus Circle.
Such a beautiful view from up there.
But they closed.
Yeah. It was literally like right in front of Central Park, so you had like you could see all of Central Park from up there. And you could see I believe you could see the Empire State Building. I'm not 100% sure.
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, but you could see all of the skyscrapers in Manhattan.
Like
so that was just a beautiful location. And unfortunately, it's closed. Oh, look, Yang is on here.
Oh, yeah.
Yang, what are you doing here?
Yang is here?
Yes.
I don't see Yang in my thing.
Really? I cannot believe
that. There you go.
I always get a whole bunch of coworkers tuning into these live streams. I just find it really funny. But she's on Facebook. So yeah.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Oh, it's linked to Facebook.
Yes.
Got you. I should share that.
You're driving to San Diego. Oh, you guys are gonna have fun over there. I'm sure of it. I'm surprised you even took some time off. You're always working. My gosh. So okay. So guys, what I wanted to talk about is I don't know if you remember, but I did mention that I had a mentor who asked me to come to you guys and ask you what it is that you guys wanted us to do, whether that was continue with this drop shipping thing and start a clothing line, or maybe start our Nurses to Riches clothing line brand. And but then the other option was, did you guys want us to start like some sort of mentorship program? And overwhelmingly, like 76 to 78% of you said that you want us to start a mentorship. So what we've decided to do is actually reach out to a lot of the people that I've had on the previous episodes of our Nurses to Riches Road to Fire podcast. And one of them, his name is Stephen Wen. He reached out to me before I even thought of reaching out to any of them. And he told me that he just recently reached financial independence. He no longer has to work. And if you guys don't remember him, he's the pharmacist who owned 90 rental units back when I interviewed him. And he ended up selling like 26 of his units. It was like one apartment complex, but it had 26 units in it. And he sold that off. He said he sold it off at a loss. Thankfully, though, he said he was like in the negatives every month. But after he sold it off the next month, he was like net positive another $10,000. So now he's at a point where he says it's just like almost like pretty much passive income. He says he doesn't have to do anything. It's being managed remotely because all of his apartments are in locations outside of California. So he said he would love to come back onto the show and answer any questions that you guys have about starting your own real estate investment journey. And so what he did in the past was he first started out with house hacking. So he bought a house in the Bay Area. It was like I think it was like Dublin or something like that. But he bought a house in the Bay Area and he decided to rent it out to someone else or a few other people. And then after he raised some money from the income that he was getting in and generating from renting it out, he bought another house and then another house. So he bought, I believe he has like 3 or 4 houses in California. But then he realized that maybe he should try looking outside of California. And when he did that, he managed to find a property that was like $500,000 for like more than 20 units or something like that. I forgot the number, but he's going to come on the show next week and he's going to talk about it. But he's able to buy multifamily properties for much cheaper than he's able to buy a single family home out here in California. So he's going to come back to the show next week. And if you have any questions about investing in real estate, like how he got started, what kind of documentation you need, like how much money you need. And I'll also be asking him these questions, because a lot of people who are interested in real estate in our podcast and who are our subscribers don't realize this, but Monica and I have been wanting to invest in Airbnb rentals and short-term rentals, mid-term rentals, all types of real estate investments. So I'm glad that he's going to be able to come on the show and talk to you guys and answer all of the questions that I have. So make sure you guys come next week. And the next week's episode is actually going to be hosted on Thursday. And that's going to be November 30th. And I'll send you guys a notification on the community tab. And if you're not subscribed to our newsletter, I'm going to send out an invite to that as well. So you guys can subscribe to the newsletter and I can notify you through there. All right. But let me see what kind of questions we have over here. Okay. Gonna be turkey or fried chicken tomorrow.
Yeah,
okay. I need to do a follow-up with you, Jason. A lot has changed from last year's interview with you. Oh man, you should schedule an interview. So this is Ivan. I interviewed. Ivan is an informatics nurse. If you guys don't remember him, he was like the second guest I had on the show, I believe. I think it was the second guest. But yeah, so he was in the Fresno area and he was working as an informatics nurse out there. And yeah, you know what, Ivan, go ahead and schedule an interview. And you can go to nursestoriches.com and then click book a call. And then select the one that you're interested in because I have two different podcasts now. One of them, and if you guys don't know this, I do have two podcasts. One of them is where I interview nurses, and I'm going to start like showcasing nurses' unique stories. And I felt like that's just a really interesting topic because right now we're just centered around only talking about, nurses' net worth, their income, how much they make. And I figured there's more to it than just that. Like there has to be a story behind the nurse. And I want that story. I feel like there's more. Are you going to talk
about like our little idea?
What idea?
The whole story.
What idea?
Oh, never mind.
Okay, so yeah, so we're going to showcase nurses' stories. There's for example, the type of stories I'm talking about. Like, let's say you grew up in extreme hardship. You were poor growing up. And even through all of the obstacles you went through, you became a nurse. That's the kind of story I want to hear. Or maybe let's say you're a nurse who made like a fatal mistake in your nursing career and you might have like overdosed the patient or given the incorrect drug. I would love to hear stories like that. Or a nurse that had a criminal background who had to overcome that background to become a nurse, just like, or a nurse that's been in like extreme amount of debt and is like swimming in debt. Things like that. I don't know, just anything you can think of, guys. If you have a story to tell, I want you to tell it to us. So please go to our website. And if you guys are interested in that kind of topic or that kind of podcast, let me know in the comments section, guys. Okay. All right. What else we got here? I always wonder if nurses track their step counts when working.
Yeah.
Yes. I actually have a step tracker.
We always compare and contrast.
Right, it's right here. You can't really tell. Okay. It's my step tracker. But yes, we do track our steps, and all of us do that. Actually, we're always comparing. I'm like, no, I had 16,000 steps today. You only had like 4,000.
No, like it also depends on your role as a nurse.
Yeah, that's true.
But I can never beat Jason because I work night shift and he works in the ER first of all. Yeah. So yeah, we do look at our steps.
Yeah, I remember when I
and then I go home and then we complain. I was like, I had this much steps. I'm tired. It's like, no, you only had 200 steps today.
But I remember when I was doing 16-hour shifts, I would come home with like 28,000 steps.
Insane.
Like that's ridiculous. Okay, let's see. Okay, what? You're in Roseville? Ivan, what in the world? You should have told me this. Like we could have hung out. This is crazy. I need to know why you're in Roseville now. Like, and you know what? I'm not surprised because everyone who starts out in Fresno ends up going towards Sacramento area anyway. So that is really cool. We need to talk about that. Okay. I have my school's exit HESI on Monday. Any tips? Should I spend all weekend studying or relaxing? It depends.
What's an exit HESI? I thought it was just like a.
Oh yeah, you know what?
Take it to get into nursing school.
That is true. Wait, exit HESI. Let's see.
Exit HESI.
Exit HESI. That is true. What is that? Oh, it's given in the last quarter or semester of school's nursing program.
Is that to
Oh,
determine
it's
if you'll do well in the
yeah.
boards?
Oh, okay, that's just a practice. It's
That's
basically like an NCLEX practice exam, is what I'm guessing.
interesting.
I've never taken one before. The only way that I studied, and actually Monica too, is we
Yeah.
didn't pay for any courses. We just bought the NCLEX Saunders book because
Yeah.
honestly, if you go through nursing school, yeah, I feel like you're prepared enough.
It depends where you go.
It does depend,
Yeah.
but in my
If-
opinion,
If you went to a school that has
Mhm.
a really high passing rate for the
Yes.
boards,
Yeah.
you probably don't have to
That's
worry.
true. That's true.
hmm
Yeah, because we went to a school that had what, like a 90%
At that
passing rate.
time. At that
Passing rate.
time.
Yeah.
hmm
And so even though I mean, like, I honestly feel like the education we got wasn't that great, but personally, I'm a good test taker. So like I knew I was gonna pass. So what I did was I bought the NCLEX Saunders book, and maybe for like an entire week, like I just read from front to back, and I did that twice.
And there's tests. There's that CD-ROM, remember?
Yeah, they used to have a CD-ROM, but I believe there's an app now where there's
I feel like a dinosaur
Yeah.
saying that.
I know. Yes, but you know, if you've been a good test taker, let's say even if you get like 80s and above average, maybe I would say like 85 and above average on all of your tests, then you don't need to take a NCLEX prep. You don't have to pay for NCLEX prep. You can just study from the book. And I highly recommend the NCLEX Saunders book because when I took that test, the NCLEX, I felt like almost everything that I learned from that book was on the test. So yeah, and I know I interviewed Mo in the past, and he sells those NCLEX preparation exam tests or the modules. But in my opinion, if you just like read every single question, you just got to get good at taking tests and answering questions. And after a while, it feels like almost every question is the same because you're just like repeating the same format over and over and over and over again. That it gets ingrained into your head so that when you then sit for the NCLEX, it just comes naturally to you. So like I remember I took mine back when it was like 75 questions, all the way to 75 questions, and then the exam shut off and I finished. And I when it shut off, like I already knew that I passed. I had no question in my mind.
There's a trick to
and you all know the trick, right? Like the Pearson, the Pearson VUE trick, right? Is that what you're talking about? When you finish taking your NCLEX, you go back and you try to schedule yourself again to take it. And if it doesn't let you, that means you passed.
You get like a pop-up. I don't know how it is now. That was during
it's still like that. Our dinosaur age. Right? Okay. All right. Let's see next. In relation to cost of living, would love to see a discussion on the new nursing contracts as a result of those strikes months ago at Columbia, Mount Sinai.
We need to get a hold of these contracts. Do you have any, babe?
I think so. Somebody sent it to me. One of my friends sent it to me, so I have to look. But their pay did increase. However, it's still not as high as Sloan Kettering. I believe Sloan Kettering is the highest, or is it HSS?
I honestly don't know.
I believe it's Sloan Kettering.
I feel like NYP is always a little bit ahead of
Sinai. It's way ahead.
And but I don't know. I can't say for sure about Memorial Sloan, but Memorial Sloan pays really well. I was trying to apply, and I saw like what they were starting you off. It was like 130 to 150. Yeah,
I actually have one of our subscribers. He's kind of like I remember I was watching his videos. He also has a YouTube channel. His name is Rob. But he did mention in a previous live, if I'm not mistaken, that the pay for Mount Sinai is anywhere from $65 to $75 per hour. But but either way, NYP has always paid a little bit more than Mount Sinai, so you're going to be making more at NYP. All right, let's see what else we got here. I love you guys. I love your passion and love for all of us. Winning at life and sharing the wealth and knowledge. Aw, thanks, Yang.
Thanks, Yang.
Nursing school is huge business. No kidding. They make so much money from us.
Yeah.
And they don't even pay their teachers well. They don't have enough teachers. It's insane how much, because I remember, one of my coworkers actually recently got accepted into nursing school. And he said he's going to pay over $100,000 for his education. And I'm thinking about how, like, when Monica and I went to school and we paid we took out about $40,000 worth of loans.
Mm-hmm.
And that actually wasn't the entirety of the cost of our education,
That
of our
was just
tuition.
2 years.
Yeah, that was 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
And we were getting a scholarship from our school for maintaining a GPA of 3.2 and above. So in addition to that scholarship we were getting from our school, we still ended up with 40,000, or it was like 42,000,
Mm-hmm.
$42,000 worth of debt each. And so we owed 84,000 by the time we graduated. And when I hear people saying that they're spending $100,000, I'm like, first of all, $100,000 is a lot of money. Okay.
Yeah.
But secondly, even if you work in a high paying hospital system, that's still a lot of money. You're still spending a lot of money.
We get a lot of students from UC Davis.
Yeah.
That at an RN to MSN bridge program.
Yeah.
So they do it like kind of that way.
Yeah.
And it costs them 6 figures just to get that. And then they come in and they become like nurses in our floor. Because I specifically had one coworker who has her MSN from UCD.
Mm-hmm.
And, she's getting paid the same as us, but she still has this student loan debt. Yeah. And let me tell you, Art, when we were discussing about the student loans with our daughter, she thinks it's normal to have student loans. I feel like we should not normalize student loans, guys. Please. Not. I don't want you guys to come out of nursing school with so much debt, because you still have to pay that off. And then now the cost of living and in this economy, we can't afford to own a home. Yeah. And then our food is so expensive, childcare is expensive, and then now on top of that, we have student. How long did it take for us to pay off our student loan? It's not. So it took us a while.
We graduated, both of us. By the time we graduated, it was like 2013. By the time we both had had graduated, but we didn't pay it off until 2021, I believe. Yeah, 2021 is when we paid everything off, right? So. Man, that was 7 years, 7.5 to 8 years later. And that's only because, we were being kind of, I'll be honest, we were being reckless with our money because we were just going on vacation after vacation for a long time. However, at one point, like during the beginning, when we first started both working as nurses, we were like, oh, let's just put all of our money towards this debt. And at one point, I remember we were paying like $9,000 a month towards our student loans. But it's funny because after we paid off our student loans in 2021, that's when they started extending this the student loan forgiveness thing, or not forgiveness, but like when they were putting the student loans on pause. And I was like, man, we should have just waited a little while. But then I think about it and I'm like, why? Why would you wait? Just get rid of it. We don't need a handout. We worked our butts off to get to where we are. We're making good money. We don't really need a handout. That someone else might be more deserving of it than us.
Plus, I have a friend who was waiting on the student loan forgiveness, and she was just kind of relying on it. Yeah. And so what happened was that she didn't realize that it was actually income based. Yeah. And you have to work full time.
Yeah. Plus, the interest is accruing during that whole time that you're not paying off your student loans. But yeah, all of that. Okay. All right. Let's go to the next one. Let's see. I'm about to graduate from my nursing program this December. Can you guys provide some insight on some of the units, ICU, ED, med-surg, you guys liked, didn't like? Any unit recommendations for new grads? We'd say this all the time. It's honestly, it's going to be personality-based and preference-based. Like, it's whatever. So ICU is going to be more like you really get to know the disease process for a patient, in my opinion. Because when the patient comes to you, they're usually in critical condition. And you need to like nurse them back to health, like in a better condition at least, so that they can be transferred to a med surg or a telefloor, or discharged from there. It depends. But ICU nurses, they really, really, in my opinion, they're the type of nurses that really know their stuff. But ED nurses know a little bit about everything. So if you're the type of nurse that wants to know a little bit about a lot, then you would want to work in the ED, especially if you don't want to be the type of nurse that's sticking with the same patient from shift to shift. Because in the ED, you'll stay with your patient for maybe, let's say, 4 hours to maybe the entire shift at most, and then you won't see them again unless you're working in like NYP. Because I remember going to NYP and my patient would be there the next day when I returned in the emergency department. So that was I don't think it's like that anymore, but hey, who knows? I haven't spoken to my coworkers recently. It could still be like that because last time I spoke with my coworkers who work at NYP, that was like a year and a half ago. They told me that at that time that when she was working on the floor, one of her coworkers had to go on her lunch break. She had to relieve her coworker, and she ended up with 40 patients during the time that she was relieving her coworker for her lunch break. So, I mean, not much has changed from when I was there. And that was like 7 years ago when I used to work there. Okay. When it comes to med-surg, if you haven't heard already, a lot of the ICU nurses that I've interviewed who have floated to the med-surg unit say they hate med-surg way more than any other type of floor. Like they would prefer tele, they would prefer ICU, PACU over med-surg. And it's because when you have your patients in med-surg, they're not on monitors, like they're not on telemetry monitors. So you can't see their rhythm. You can't see if they go into like an arrhythmia or anything like that. Even though, like, I mean, they're there for medical problems, not like it's not a cardiac problem. But still, when something goes wrong, you need to be rounding on your patients to find out if anything's actually like really wrong with them. Not to say that you shouldn't be rounding on your tele patients either, but you should. But not as much as those med-surg patients.
I think it's also because the ratio is 5-to-1.
That in California, the ratios are 5-to-1 in California. But if you're, I remember when I was working in New York, I would get 7, 8, even 9 patients on an 8-hour shift on a tele floor. So in California, it's a 4-to-1 if you're working on a tele floor. And me personally, I would take tele over med-surg. If you had a choice between those two, I would take tele. I just felt more comfortable with my tele patients because, like I said, I could actually monitor them.
People just start off. I mean, med-surg is just like an option for you to start off because nobody wants to work med-surg.
Yeah.
And then build your skills from there and then move on.
Yeah. You know? But at the same time, when everyone says that you need to work med-surg to build a foundation, you really don't. You could work anywhere. It doesn't matter. As a nurse, even if you, let's say you end up in a nursing home, a nursing facility, and then you want to go somewhere else, it may be a little bit harder, but it's not impossible to go somewhere else. So because Monica started off as a nursing home, well, not a nursing home, it was what was it? Home care nurse. She would actually travel to patients' home and sign them up for like home care services.
It was more insurance purposes though. Yeah. It wasn't like
it wasn't
acute care.
That's true.
Yeah, but I loved it. I actually really liked that job.
I know, it was pretty cool.
It didn't pay well, but
you used to get, I think it was like $100 per visit.
Per case, yeah.
Per visit, yeah. Which was not bad because if you got like maybe 2 or 3 cases per day, that's $200 to $300. But it still sucks. I mean, if you do that 5 days a week, you could make up to like $1,500 a week, which is not bad.
Depends where you do it though.
That's
which
true.
City, because some of these cases were like all out. Some like it involves a lot of commuting.
But remember, I think they paid more for the when you were traveling farther as well.
Oh yeah, I remember now. They did pay me a little bit more.
Yeah. So, and you can always negotiate with them. You know, they're in desperate need for nurses too. But yeah, just go wherever you want. Don't let anybody tell you where to go. Just go wherever you want. Okay, next. Let's see. I'm currently working as a phlebotomist in the ER. My highest step count was 30K. Vomit. Currently in school. Step count. Oh wow, geez, that's crazy. 30,000 steps. Okay, now I thought mine was bad. That's pretty bad.
How are your feet still okay and your back? Oh my gosh,
man. Like I knew you guys walked, but I didn't know you walked that much. Okay, I'm about to start the ED. I'll start 20 months long direct entry Masters of Nursing program, which will cost me $150,000, $60,000 for the school, and the rest is for living. Oh my gosh, that's a lot of money, and it's a Masters of Nursing. I guess
it depends on what the end result, they can do with that.
Yeah, I mean, if your plans are to go into management, that's
like a director, you know.
The managers at the Kaiser system make about 180 to 190 base, and they're salaried though, so it's not, they don't really earn any extra overtime. So that's the downside.
They get really good benefits.
They do.
And
They
stock
get really.
options.
They get stock options. They get really good health insurance. They
Mhm.
get a better 401k option than we
Mhm.
do. Apparently, they get a higher contribution from the employer than we do as staff. So, but many other hospitals do pay their management administrators a lot more than they do their staff. So, because they have to look at how much the average nurse makes in the hospital and how much overtime on average they might put in, and that's kind of like the baseline they set for their managers. So yeah, if you're looking to get into the managerial position, you're definitely going to be making, well, depending on where you live, I don't know where you live, but you could easily make about $150,000 a year doing that. Okay. Am I crazy? I forgot to read that one before. I should have read that one too. But yeah, I think you're crazy, but it's okay. If that's what you want to do,
By
you
all
know,
means,
honestly though, I
yeah.
wish you would just like look for an employer that would be willing to pay for your education or at least help you out. And usually those are employers that are in a teaching hospital or employers with unions, because that's a lot of money. $150,000 is going to, if you don't grind really hard, that's going to take you probably a decade to pay off. Because you got to think about, once you actually start making money with that degree, you're still going to have to worry about your living expenses. So even if you make $150,000 after taxes, that's before taxes, your net take-home pay with 150,000, let's say it's somewhere around $7,000 a month, 7 to 8,000. Yeah, I'm gonna go with like 7 to 8,000, right? Let's say it's 8,000, and let's say you still spend.
This person said that they're gonna do NP.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that what
To become an MP.
Yeah.
Yeah. But let's say you average 150,000 gross. The net after that, it's gonna be like $8,000 a month, and let's say you spend $3,200 a month for your house. Then you spend another $800 on groceries. That's $4,000. Then you spend between your gas, your car, your insurance, your utilities. Let's say you spend another $1,500. That's $5,500. So you'll be left with around $2,500. Imagine how long it's going to take you to pay off that $150,000. That's going to take a long time. And you got to also consider the fact that many positions, especially like I've known NPs, you got to work in a hospital that gives NPs overtime, because I know many NPs that don't get overtime, they're salaried. So if you are salaried making 150 gross, it's going to take you several years, not decades, to pay off that much. Just saying. Okay. Unless you have you could go into private practice. So that's one thing. You can do some side jobs. That's another thing. So if you're willing to do those things, then you can pay for it. But if you were a staff nurse now and you were working in Northern California, you could pay off that $150,000 right away. Or you can take a traveling position. Think about doing like travel NP positions. You could probably make a lot of money doing that. Okay. Let's see. Yeah. Okay, 0 to psych NP. Yeah, don't do psych NP if you're wanting to make more money. Okay, have you thought of starting a vocation school, teaching CNA, CPR, phlebotomy? Not really, because the way I look at it is, if it requires me being there, then like I value my time, and if I have to use my time to make money, then I don't want to do it. That's why I want to get to a point where I'm earning passive income, so that I can build up a business to the point where I'm not required, myself, I am not required to be there in order for the business to continue profiting and making money and generating income. Okay. Pay is not enough. Want to have my own business. First career was engineering. Yeah. 6-figure plus debt is common these days. It's absurd, but it's reality. Yeah, I know it's the reality. But if you're willing to be creative and not rush through nursing school, because I know that was what we went through. We were rushing ourselves to go through nursing school. And if you're willing to wait, then you can do it in a more financially sound way, more economical way. Because if you go to LPN school and then do what one of the previous nurses that I interviewed did. You go through LPN school, and then you get the LPN to RN bridge, and then RN to BSN, then BSN to MSN. You could do it that way, and it'll cost you a lot less if you do it the right way, because there's schools now like Capella University, and there's a couple of others. I'm forgetting the names, but there's a couple of online schools that are accredited that you can go through, and some of these schools will allow you to take as many courses as you want in one semester for the same cost. So like, let's say you want to finish your BSN in 3 months, you could do that if you're willing to like just grind for 3 months, and the cost is still going to be the same as if you were to just like take 2 classes in that same semester. All right. My current path is nursing school. Yeah. Yes. I think that's one of the schools that I was talking about. Best option for not having loans, at least for me. I see. Okay. Don't depend on Biden for student loan forgiveness. Exactly. That's why we didn't. Okay.
Where do you see that comment? I don't
right
see
here.
it here.
That was right here from Sally. Okay. Psych NP is the end goal. Oh man. That's going to be a tough one, because I think psych NPs are actually on the lower end of the earning, the income ladder. So if you want to make a lot of money, it's going to be a lot harder to do as a psych NP unless you're in private practice. Because I know a few psych NPs who are in private practice who are making a lot of money. I'm talking about like $300,000-$400,000 a year. So that's the only way I can see that being possible. But
piggybacking on that, somebody commented, I'm doing clinicals in Presbyterian Hospital, and everyone here is talking about psych NP. Is that like a new hot topic now? Because literally at my job too, everybody wants to become a psych NP. Everybody's getting their psych NP. Is that a trend?
I don't know.
Really
I'm getting
curious.
this more and more in our live streams. More people asking about it. Honestly, though, we do need more psych healthcare workers. We do. So if that's what you want to get into, by all means, but don't expect to be making really high wages in that field compared to the other type of nurse practitioners, because the other nurse practitioners are definitely making a lot more on average. Okay. Especially like, obviously I can't compare it to CRNAs because they're at the highest end of the bracket there. But if you're comparing it to FNPs and NPs, then psych NPs are going to be at the lower end. All right, let's see. Okay, my employer is paying for my degree. Yeah, I am only paying back $100 a semester. My schedule is flexible, and I did not sign contract to work for them for any term. That is amazing. That is how I think everybody should really be doing it. And that's what I'm saying. Like, have your employer pay for it. I know there's so ED. You need to take notes from FH. I don't know what your names are, but take notes. This is what I'm saying, guys. You don't have to spend your hard-earned money, your hard-earned savings. You don't have to take out hundreds of thousands of dollars in loans to pay for your education. That's why Monica and I, we went to a community school. We got our prerequisites done there, and then we transferred over to a private university where we got our BSN. And we only had to spend 2 years there. So instead of spending 4 years at a private university to get our BSN, we only spent 2 years there. That's how we planned it out so we could save more money. Because we would have ended up like $170,000 in debt combined if we would have just gone through a private school for the whole 4 years. All right. My situation is for sure giving me the motivation and gratitude to finish strong. Yes, yes. All right. I'm doing my clinicals in Presbyterian Hospital, and everyone's talking about it. I don't know why. Hi, everyone. Okay. Is it worth getting a master's degree in nursing, or is a bachelor's enough? Thank you for answering.
It depends.
Yeah, it depends what you want to do. So if you want to get into management, if you want to go into private practice as an NP, FNP, Psych NP, or if you want to get away from the bedside, then it would probably be worth it. It would, but you know what? Even with a bachelor's degree, even with an associate's degree, you don't have to work at the bedside, because like Monica mentioned previously, there's plenty of nurses that work for like call centers, right? There's nurses that work in clinics. There's nurses that work at IV therapy places, med spas. There's so many different places you can work at and not have to work at the bedside. And you don't need a master's degree to do all of that. But on average, if you're like the average nurse in the United States, then someone with a master's in nursing is definitely going to be making more than someone with a bachelor's in nursing. That's just across the board if you have a master's in nursing versus someone who has a bachelor's. But if you're just talking about someone who lives in like like Northern California, then you can have an associate's degree and be making way more than someone with a master's degree. Okay. 6-figure ADN with no debt. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. That's the best way to do it. Okay, damn, we have people over here from Facebook that are actually tuning in.
Oh, that's fabulous.
Are you doing real estate soon, like BRRR? And that's buy, rehab, and rent. I forgot what the BRRR method. It's BRRR. Okay, method. This is what it stands for. So buy, rehab, rent, refinance, and repeat. So that's actually what Steven does. And he's doing it with multi-family properties. And, he told me a story about how one of the properties he was talking to me about, that's a multi-family apartment complex. He purchased it. I forgot for how much. I believe it was like, let's say 500,000. But he renovated it, rented out all of the units after he renovated it. Obviously, he had to increase the prices because now he modernized all of the apartments. But then when he refinanced it based on the rents and basically based on the rents and the renovations that he did, his equity on the house grew by $800,000. And this is just in a matter of months, guys. So that's why he's going to be on the show, the live stream, next Thursday, November 30th. And for the first hour of next week's live stream, I believe we're only going to do maybe 30 to 45 minutes because I'm going to have him for 2 hours, right? So for the first 30 minutes to 45 minutes, he's going to be answering all of the questions on the live stream, and he's going to be providing a lot of value. But for the second half, we're creating like a VIP platinum membership live stream for people who are actually interested in the specific area that our expert focuses on. So, for example, I might have an expert come onto the live stream to answer questions about med spas. So if you guys don't remember, I interviewed Tasha in the past. Tasha Moon is a nurse who owns a med spa near our hospital, and within like the first 9 to 10 months, she made over $360,000 of her opening up her med spa. So if you're interested in running a med spa, for the first 30 minutes to 45 minutes, she's going to be on that live stream to answer all of your questions. And then for the next one, she's actually, which is for our VIP members, because remember, I'm bringing these experts into the live stream. They have other things that they need to do, right? So in order for it to be worth it for them, I'm going to have to create a membership for that one, a paid membership. So that membership will allow you to ask them step by step everything that needs to happen in order for you to start your med spa business, or let's say that's real estate. If you want to get into multifamily properties and rentals, you can do that with our expert who focuses on things like that. Or let's say if you want to start your own IV therapy business, I can go back to one of our experts and the ones that I've interviewed in the past, and I can bring them onto the live stream, and you guys can ask any question you have. But if you are actually really serious about starting your own business in those industries, then you sign up for the paid membership, where you hop onto the second live stream and you can ask them to just run you step by step through the process of what it takes to do what it is that you want to do. Okay. And there's just so many different experts that I've interviewed in the past who specialize in their area. Like, let's see, Christina Redwine. She managed to get her husband. You guys were asking me before, like, what is it that she does? Because she sells a mentorship program for $30,000. But part of one of those mentorship programs is she's able to get people to go from like having no followers on social media So like her husband, her partner, he had 3,000 followers. Like let's say at the beginning of the year, and like months later, he's already at like 600,000 followers, if I'm not mistaken, and she helped him get there. But she's done that to several other social media influencers and businesses. So that's one of the things that she does. She also has a mastermind group where, similar to what I'm doing, there's experts that come in and they talk to each other and try to help each other, give each other advice about the things that they might want to, involve themselves in. Anyways, let's move on to the next one. But yeah, we really do want to do the Burr method. That is a goal of ours, and hopefully we'll be able to get there within the next few years. I can't tell you how many years, but soon, hopefully. Okay. What specialty do you guys wish you had gotten into, or are you guys content with the area of nursing you guys are currently in? ED for Jason and Telly for Monica. You want to answer?
You start first.
I hate working in the ER. And the reason for that is because I just want to chill, guys. Like, I just want to relax. I want to be able to come to work and just not do anything anymore. Because I've been an ER nurse now for 10 years, and I was a tele nurse for 1 year. So I've been a nurse for 11 years. And I remember, actually, there's this one nurse who came to our department recently who used to work in another Kaiser ER, but then came to our hospital to work in the PACU. And she lasted about a few months there. And then she returned back to the ED. And we're like, why would you go from PACU to the ED when most nurses are trying to go from the ED to PACU? Why would you do that to yourself? And she said she was bored up there. And I'm like, you're bored of making easy money? How can you be bored of that? I would love to just sit back, relax. And in the PACU, a lot of the times, especially if you work night shift, you might have one patient. You might have no patients. That happens often. And they don't send you home when you're working for Kaiser. So yeah, that's what I would have done if I wasn't planning on an exit strategy from nursing altogether. So yeah, I would have probably gotten into that much sooner, or I would have gotten into something else away from the bedside. Like if I would have known about, being a nurse for Tesla, like you could be a nurse for Tesla, I would have probably done something similar to that a long time ago. Or I would have also just gotten into computer programming, maybe software engineering, because I'm really interested in tech. So that's probably something I would have gotten into as well. All right, Monica, what about you?
Jason didn't mention this, but he's pretty much handcuffed to that ED schedule because his template, he works 20 hours a week, 5 days straight, and then 9 days off. So what people don't realize when they work, they say nurses, nursing is flexible. It is, but that's only if you work at bedside, like real true bedside, like ED, med-surg, tele, ICU, because because I worked in med-surg first, then I was so burnt out. I was working in Sinai, then I went to GI. I worked in endoscopy in NYP for about a year and some change. And then when we moved to California, it was really hard for me to get in GI, so I ended up in tele. But because I started to feel burnt out, I started thinking like maybe I should go back to GI. But the problem with working in GI or working in the clinic whatsoever is that I like my flexibility. So when you work in tele, med-surg, ICU, wherever, like very acute care, you're needed 24 hours a day. You can work any shift, right? So say, if you live in the city, or if you don't have any family around, you need somebody to watch your kid. We have childcare. Our son is in school, right? Yeah. But when we don't have any family in California, and so we can't rely on anybody for our kids. So therefore, Jason and we have to alternate schedules. So the more flexible the specialty is, the more it works out for us. Because if I go back to GI and I work a Monday to Friday job, I'm kind of stuck to that template and into that shift. It's a day shift position, and then I don't have to work weekends. I could be on call, but say I want to group all my days together and then take a chunk of time off. I can't do that. We mentioned this previously, but I think it was on our last live that I was off for 13 days because it was like Halloween time, whatever, and then we were just catching up with the things we needed to do. Then I was off for 13 days.
Yeah.
Then I worked 8 days straight. and then I'm off for 21 days after. I can't do that working in GI.
That's true.
I can't really do that if I work in the clinic. I can't do that if I work in like a Monday to Friday type of job. So that's why I'm kind of stuck in tele. Do I necessarily I do like tele.
Well,
but
also per diem is just like stuck per diem too. And
diem,
not that
so
not that you hate being per diem. Actually, I love that you're per diem. We both love that you're per diem.
Yeah.
But I think if you were to work in any other department as a per diem nurse, you would still have that flexibility.
But I won't get as much availability.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
that's true.
You won't, because you're not as needed.
Surprisingly, yeah.
Because it's, again, acute care, 24/7, you're needed.
Also, you're able to flow from tele to med surge between both those units, so they're always needing you for any one of those.
And if you want to be an even more flexible nurse, ICU is the best way to do it. You can go anywhere. So I'm okay with tele, but in moderation. Like I can't work full-time tele anymore. It's just physically hard on me now.
Yeah. And what's funny is that before we had our son, like Monica used to work a lot. Like she used to work even when she was pregnant with our son, she was working so many shifts back to back. And then even like after you returned to work for a good year, you were working a lot too.
I mean,
year and a half. Yeah,
I was doing a lot of doubles. I did put in some, compared to what we're doing now, I was working a lot. So it's just physically taxing on your body.
Yeah.
So in moderation, I like tele.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Let's see what else. Okay. Seems like a trend, psych and P. Yeah, that's what I think. Currently, there are community schools that will pay for an ADN with no previous degree.
That's interesting.
Yeah. Actually, yeah, it depends where you're located. That's true. Because even in California, it's like that in some cases. Yeah. Okay. Back in 2018, psych NPs were the higher paid NP. Dorothy said when he graduated in 2018, his salary was $190. But now in 2023, the same position is offering $110 per year. Everyone going to psych. Really? Wow. Okay. Let's see. LPN bridge to ASN, move to California, have hospital pay for BSN or other advanced degree. Yes, exactly. If you can find the hospital that will just pay for your degree, go for the lowest degree you can possibly get. And then once you're working for that hospital, have the hospital pay for your advanced degrees.
I guess I can see the reason why people are so tempted to go straight to getting their BSN, because that's how I felt.
Yeah.
Back then when I was going to nursing school, when people say, "Oh, just get your associate," nah, no getting my associate. I'm going straight for my bachelor's. Okay. So it's just the thought of just starting off so small and so little. I just didn't like that idea. So I can see, I can see why.
And you know what? The reason we think like that is because when you think about any other profession, you're like, oh, I need at least a bachelor's degree in order to get paid well. Or even to get hired, honestly, because it's hard to get hired if you don't have a bachelor's degree in any other profession. But when it comes to nursing, you can have an associate's degree and get hired anywhere. Almost anywhere will hire you. And I'm talking about like 98, 99% of the places are going to hire you with an associate's degree. Especially now, because hospitals are in such a desperate need for nurses that they don't care if you have a bachelor's. They just want a good nurse who's going to do the job. And trust me, go for an associate's if that's what's available in your area. Go for anything lower than that if you find a hospital that's willing to pay for the advanced degrees as well. Okay, let's see. Travel nursing or Kaiser and Cal. Okay. So here's the thing. If you don't have children, I would say travel nursing, because it allows you the flexibility to explore and the freedom to explore different locations until you find a place that works best for you. Because many of the nurses that I've interviewed, the ones that have traveled, most of them, I would say like 90% of them, if not more, don't have children, because it's a lot easier to be a travel nurse if you don't have kids. But if you have kids and you want to settle somewhere, then travel nursing is not going to be the way to do it. Unless you want to like travel to a location that you're planning to move to, then yeah, that would be a good idea. However, Monica does know someone who lives in Spain and travels all the way to what, San Jose?
San Diego.
San
He does a lot of
Diego.
contracts in San
Yeah.
Diego.
Yeah, so it's a nurse that does travel assignments in San Diego, and he lives in Spain. So it is possible, but you got to think about it though. Like, if you're constantly traveling that much, are you really going to have the time to spend with your family and see your kids? You might be on an assignment for, let's say, 13 weeks. And if you're going to be flying back and forth in those 13 weeks, that's going to take a toll on your body, a toll on your health. But if you're staying in the United States or in the location that you're traveling to, then you're not going to see your family for 13 weeks. So if you're okay with that, by all means. But me personally, I cannot see myself being away from my kids and Monica for like 13 weeks at a time. That's just my opinion. And I have a coworker who has, he came to us as a part-timer, and then he had all his family in Georgia. And he, for about a good year and a half, maybe 2 years, he would work 7 days in a row and then be off for 7 days and just travel back and forth between Georgia and California. But I asked him recently if he still does that, and he said he doesn't do it anymore. It's just taken such a toll on him that he'll go over there every maybe not even once a month, like once every 2 or 3 months.
Piggybacking on that, I actually had a coworker who there's so many coworkers. I have coworkers that are per diem, and then they travel back and forth from the south and then to Cali to Northern California and Sacramento. I have one particular coworker. She was with us for a while, and then she decided to move back on the East Coast. She lives in, I think she's either lives in North Carolina or South Carolina. So she did fly back and forth for a while, and until one day we stopped seeing her. So I texted her. I was like, "Hey girl, like what's going on? Like haven't seen you in a while." And she said like, "It's not worth flying back and forth here anymore because of the plane tickets." So when the gas prices started rising, she didn't think it was worth putting all those hours and getting that Californian pay, and she's just gonna use that money to pay for her airfare. So she stopped doing it. She quit completely, and thankfully she's happy where she is now.
So yeah, there's a lot of things you guys have to take into account when you're doing something like that, like traveling. So I remember when we first came to California, my plan was never to do a travel assignment. My plan, because I had my mind set, and that's because I knew someone who worked in the hospital that I wanted to work in. My friend was telling me all these good things about Northern California and Kaiser specifically. So when we moved over here, I applied for jobs as a permanent staff. And like I said previously, I got so many job offers within like the first few weeks. I had probably three job offers. One for Dignity Health, which was going to be like a floating ED position. I was going to float to different hospitals. That one was going to pay me like, I think it was like $60 an hour or something like that. And then Sutter Roseville, that one was going to pay me, was it Sutter Roseville? Yeah, that one was going to pay me $65 an hour for night shift. And another one from Dignity Health. So I had 3 in total. But I ended up accepting the one at Sutter Roseville because my plan was to work there. And then once I got hired into Sutter Roseville, I was just going to keep applying for jobs at Kaiser because that was my ultimate end goal. Like, we came to California to make more money, spend less money, and pay off our debt, invest our money. That was the goal. And thankfully, we've gotten to a point where we don't have any debt. We have, our net worth is like $700,000 now. When before we moved to California, it was like negative 80,000. Okay, so that all happened within like 5-6 years or so. The economy has been doing poorly over the last year, and even back then, like when right before it bottomed out, it was like 600 and something thousand net worth that we had, but now it's like closer to 700,000 because the economy is picking back up. But yeah, we would not have been able to do that if we would have stayed in New York. And that's why I say, like, you guys have to be willing to take risks in life. And one of those risks might involve you moving away from like immediate family for like a short or extended period of time and then returning home.
There's definitely a lot of sacrifices, you know.
Yeah. And that's just and it depends on whether you're willing to make those sacrifices or not. Because if you want to get to a point where you have no debt and you have, like, and you're building wealth, it's going to be hard to do if you're anywhere else in the United States. Yeah, you can be living in a place like Texas and pay a low amount for your home, but if you're going to be living in a location where the cost of living is going to be low in Texas, then the pay is likely not going to be as high. The take-home pay is not going to be as high as something like I mentioned in the Sacramento area. Because even though, let's say, you buy a house over here in Sacramento for $500,000, $400,000, because it's possible. You can even buy a house for $350,000. But let's say you buy a house for like $500,000 in Sacramento, and you buy a house for $200,000 or $250,000 in Texas. Even after you bring home the income that you've earned after taxes in Sacramento, you're still going to be left with so much more than you are in Texas. And I don't care what anybody tells you. I've ran these numbers, okay? I've ran all the numbers. No matter where you live in Texas, you are still going to be bringing home, and I'm saying bringing home, okay, guys, after taxes, after your bills, all of that, you're going to be bringing home more money in Northern California than you are in Texas. It doesn't matter how much you're paying for your house in Texas or how little you're paying for your house in Texas. You're still going to be coming home with more in the Sacramento area. And that includes Roseville, Rockland, not Granite Bay, like Folsom, Elk Grove. It includes
Fresno?
All those. Fresno. So Fresno, we got to talk to Ivan about this. But yeah. Ivan used to live in Fresno, and now he lives in Roseville. So I need to ask him why. But in Fresno, the cost of living is lower, and the pay is higher.
Very similar to Sacramento.
Yeah. Sorry, not the pay is not higher. The cost of living is lower, actually. But the pay is the same if you're working for Kaiser. However, Ivan was doing nursing informatics. So so his pay was lower than one of the Kaiser nurses' pay would be over there. So yeah, we got to find out why Ivan. Okay. So Ivan just answered right over here. Okay.
Dollar signs.
He moved to Roseville for the money. Okay, guys. Did I not tell you, Ivan? Like, you should listen to me. No matter what, at the end of the day, the cost of living and the pay, it balances itself out, because you're gonna be making a lot more money at the end of the day. Oh yeah. Fresno is ghetto. That's why.
This is funny. When we didn't know anything about California, Fresno was actually one of the places we wanted to live, because Jason was like, "Oh, we should move to Fresno. It's close to Yosemite."
Yosemite, yeah.
And then one of my coworkers who's from LA at that time I worked with in Sinai. She's like, "Fresno? There's just cows there." we didn't know. You know what? I'm just so glad we nailed it when we moved to California and right away moved to Sacramento.
True. But I think we did that because of our friend.
Yeah. Because you imagine we're stubborn and we're like, oh, let's just move to San Francisco. It's beautiful over there.
All right, guys, listen, consider us your friends, and you need to listen to your friends. Take advice. Okay. You need to heed our advice, please. Because I listened to our friend. We listened to our friend who told us, you should move here if you want to make a lot of money and have a lot left over. Because look, we just bought a house. We've been living here for eight months, and we just bought a huge mansion. They're living in like a 4,000 square foot home.
That story was like a repeat too. So they moved in Roseville, bought a house in 8 months, and then we moved in Sacramento, Roseville. Roseville then Sacramento, and within less than a year we bought a house.
Less than a year.
Then we brought another couple over.
Yeah.
And within less than a year, they also bought their house.
In less than a year.
So it was like we were recruiting, and before we had a YouTube channel, this is what
Wait, not just one couple, two couples.
Who was it? Oh yeah.
Two couples. Okay.
They were kind of before us, but yeah.
But, and you know what? They're really mindful about their spending. This other couple, they bought their house for what? 300, how much was it? $289,000.
This was a little bit way back. Yeah.
That house is now worth like $350,000. But that you can afford a house that's inexpensive in the Sacramento region, guys. You don't have to go all out, but a lot of nurses here love to go all out because they can afford to. That's why they do it.
So we're just saying we have some success stories, and I actually have one good friend. I work in New York Presbyterian, and she didn't even visit Sacramento. She said, "Okay, Monica, you're gonna be my guinea pig, and I'm gonna follow you." She never even stepped foot in Sacramento, and she moved until this day. She still lives. She actually moved to Folsom. She loves it there. She loves her Cali lifestyle. She's never looking back. So I was like, that was a successful recruitment. So we're always constantly recruiting our New York friends. And then like kind of, you know what, deep down inside, I kind of feel bad because like Sacramento natives probably hate us because we're constantly trying to recruit people, and we've successfully recruited people. People don't even know. We just hear it from like coworkers. And I mean, I'm sorry if you're a Sac native, I'm sorry guys, but and it's weird because like when we lived in New York City and we hear people moving to New York City, we're not like, oh, get the fuck out of my city.
So weird.
Get out of my city. Get out of here. Like it was not that mindset we always had. People move here like, okay, whatever. You know, we never really had that NIMBY attitude towards people that try to move here. It's just really odd when you move to like a smaller city or like a smaller town. Everybody's like, get out of here. You know, it was just so unwelcoming.
I know. That's why I can't make any videos. I still will, but I don't make any videos talking negatively about Sacramento because I don't know if you guys ever seen any videos that I've made where we talked about the homelessness crisis in Sacramento. We talked about some of the things that we dislike about Sacramento, like the heat, the homelessness population. There's so many other things. It's boring in Sacramento. I've mentioned things like that previously, and the Sacramento natives will go off on me in the comments.
It's pretty intense.
And I'm like, you know, when we're in New York,
we say shit about New York all the time. When we live here, we talk shit so much about New York. And all the New Yorkers would agree with us.
They would. If we are in New York and I make a video about how like hot and humid it is in the summer, New Yorkers will be like, yeah, he's got a point, you know?
And we'll be like, New York smells like shit. And like, that's true. But if you talk crap about Sac, everybody will just like.
But I feel like that's also a California thing in general, because like you can't say anything negative about In-N-Out. You can't say anything negative about like their food. Nothing. You can't. And it's the opposite for New York. Like they'll be like, oh yeah,
everybody knows
all
it's
right,
like a crappy city.
Or they'll just like go off. They'll just have their other end of the discussion or their argument, and they'll just like talk to you about it. But they won't like be upset with you over it. And they won't like stop following you if they were a previous follower of you on social media or YouTube. But if you know, it's funny. I wish I could show you guys our analytics, but on YouTube. But when I look at our analytics, if I sort it by most dislike percentage wise to the least dislike, you will see that the Sacramento videos, any Sacramento related video that has to do with me talking about Sacramento and the way of life here has the most dislike percentage than any other videos.
But the thing is, we don't want to sugarcoat Sacramento. No. We want to tell you the real deal.
Yeah, because
and what to expect.
Because honestly, people who live out in the vicinity, the surrounding areas of Sacramento will agree with what I have to say. But the people who live in Sacramento don't. All right, what else we got? Oh yeah, talking about Tasha previously. Yes, we love Tasha. Okay, I have a friend who is a doctor but makes millions as a writer on Kindle Unlimited.
That's really interesting.
And a couple nurse friends who make $200,000 to $300,000 yearly doing the same. Authors for Amazon KDP.
What did they write about?
Yeah, I would love to know what they write about. But I remember, okay, I want to make a video. And you know what? I'm actually going to kind of make this into a series going forward, because it's getting a little bit easier for me to make videos because the way I set up my camera equipment at home. So I'm going to start making videos talking about the different types of nurses, or talking about nurses that are doing different types of side hustles. And this is not related to the podcasts, but I'm talking about like this nurse that I followed previously. I haven't followed her in a while, but she used to be a nurse practitioner, and she stopped being a nurse practitioner because now she's making YouTube videos, making at least $60,000 a month just from the content she posts on YouTube. So that's one of the things. Nurse in the Making is another nurse that I've talked about previously. And this nurse has made probably at this point over $15 million in the last 2 to 3 years selling these study guides. Just like the RN Explained, she's another nurse. She was actually interviewed on Forbes magazine and like a whole bunch of other news stations about how she made like $2 million within, I believe, I don't know if it was like the first month, the first year of her selling those study guides, or in 1 year of her selling study guides. So these study guide businesses are like, these nurses are making a killing. I also want to like showcase different nurses who are talking about their income. And I'm just going to make, those are just going to be like talking head videos where I'm going to kind of go over their numbers and break some things down and break down their business. So if you guys are interested in that, you should stay tuned for those videos. All right, next. Currently working on doing the same. Oh, this person's gonna be doing the same thing with the books. Okay. I think you guys should look into it if you have not already. Oh man, we have so many things we've been looking into already. You know, I spoke with this nurse for one of the podcast videos, and she told me that she has this thing called shiny object syndrome, because she starts one side hustle and then gets distracted by another side hustle, and then she gets distracted by another side. So she goes from side hustle to side hustle. And I'm kind of like the same way, and I need to stop doing that. So thank you for the suggestion and the recommendation, but I'm not going to do it.
What are we going to write about, though?
Yeah.
Erotica?
Okay. Do you guys, do you know of any nurses who work in NorCal infusion centers or oncology clinics, wondering if those are as highly paid as bedside nurses? Thank you guys for your time. Appreciate it a lot. I don't know personally one of those nurses, but I do know that they don't earn as much as the bedside nurses, because the bedside nurses get so much overtime, and their pay is a lot higher. Their base rate is a lot higher than infusion and oncology clinic nurses, because at the clinics, they're actually trying to compete with the hospitals, but they can't, because the hospitals have so much revenue coming in that they can offer their nurses a lot more money. But at least it's less stressful than working at the bedside. So it's still an option. And I would, if that's something that you want to do, I would totally pursue it. Okay. Let's see. After about 2 years of following you, I finally applied to nursing school. It took you 2 years? But congratulations, finally. Oh man, you know, if you would have listened to me from the beginning and you would have applied 2 years ago, you would have been a nurse by now.
His second comment said that the anxiety is real. Yeah. Save your anxiety for later. Oh, yeah. That's gonna come when you're in nursing school and you have to do those midterms and finals. Yeah. So just try to chill for now. Yeah. But that's great news.
Yeah, no, you're gonna have to figure out a way to de-stress through nursing school, because if you can't figure it out, stressful. it's gonna take a toll on you.
So save that anxiety for later, okay?
Yeah. Hey, you know what? You should join the Discord, because there's a lot of nursing students on the Discord. Yes. It's just specifically for nursing students. There's a channel in there that I only let the nursing students go to, and they actually help each other out. So maybe you should join that part of our Discord. Okay. I have an ADN, been traveling 3 years, have worked at Dartmouth, PCU, and other nice hospitals like John Muir. No one has ever cared or impacted me finding contracts. No one has ever cared or impacted me. Oh yeah, with your ADN, that makes sense. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You could do this with an ADN.
Yeah.
Don't be afraid to continue with an ADN. You don't have to have your BSN in order to get a high-paying job as a nurse. All right, let's see. Yo, Jason, check your Discord inbox. Huh. Okay, I'll check it.
What's in it?
I don't usually check those things, because I get so many people asking me if I'm looking for a thumbnail designer, a video editor. There's just so many that I just leave it as spam at this point. Okay, I have kids, but it would be local travel. Oh yeah, you could do that. That's true. I drive 60 miles to work and back right now. I thought travel within the same distance wouldn't be all that bad. Yeah,
we get a lot of local travelers that are, from California, and they're constantly just trying to get contracts. They'll take 3 months off, and then they'll get 13-week contracts, and I'll see them again pop up. I'm like, are you some of these travel nurses, I feel like, are already staff, because they're local contract nurses. Yeah. So it's really interesting how they try to do it.
Yeah. All right, let's see. Thank you guys for this channel. I'm a newer nurse working at Kaiser in Bay Area. Do they pay more for ED or ICU? Also, if I transfer to a different Kaiser, do you know if I can keep my same pay? Okay, this is a two-part question. First, the pay is the same regardless of whether you're an ED, ICU, med-surg, or tele-nurse. If you're working in Southern California, the pay is going to be different. But if you're working in Northern California, the pay is going to be the same across the board. Even if you work at a call center as a nurse, if you work at the PACU, if you work OR, if you work at a clinic, the pay is going to be the same. Okay, for all those nurses, they're just considered staff 1, staff nurse 2, staff nurse 3, staff nurse 4. And then there's like other staff nurses, and they're like nurse NP, those type of positions. But if you're a staff nurse 2, that means you can be ED, ICU, tele, med-surg. It falls under all of that, right? But if you're a staff nurse 3, that means you've been working in your department for 2 years, and you want to get 5% increase on your base rate, and you need to apply for that to become a staff nurse 3. And in order to apply, you need to submit certain things. So you need to submit like 2 exemplars. You need to get recommendations from your manager and like some colleagues, even possibly a doctor. And then you also need to do something in the community or something for your department, like a contribution to your department to get to that staff nurse 3. But then there's staff nurse 4. As a staff nurse 4, you would only apply for that 5 years after you started working with Kaiser for the same department. Because if you switch departments, that's not gonna transfer over with you. That staff nurse 3 or staff nurse 4 won't transfer over unless it's in a similar department. So, okay. So if you want to apply for a staff nurse 4, that's an overall 8% increase to your base salary. And in order to become a staff nurse 4, like I said, you need to work 5 years within the Kaiser system for the same department. And you need to be like creating policy for your department. You need to be in like different types of maybe like not managerial, but like upper roles in the department. So like that might mean like a charge nurse or a resource nurse or someone who directs the flow in your department in order to get to that point. And then, but let's say you're making $100 an hour. As a staff nurse 4, you would be making $108 per hour. And then in addition to that, you would also make, the differentials. So like if you have night shift or evening shift differential, you could possibly be making like $115 an hour, maybe even more, maybe like $119 an hour.
Okay, we got to move on.
Okay.
We got to move on.
All right, next. We're going to make this quick. Okay. All right. Yeah, okay. See, that's why he moved to California, to Roseville. I even moved to Roseville because of the money. Telling you guys. Okay. Fresno is ghetto. That's why. Okay. Listen to them.
Yes. Listen to us.
We bought a house before we moved to Roseville. Yeah. I think, wow. That means you guys were saving, because I remember you guys were saving a lot of money too. Y'all are hilarious.
Of course we are.
Any chances of an in-person meetup in New York when you guys come here? Oh man, that's that.
We've been thinking about doing a meetup.
Yeah.
But I don't know. There's probably only going to be like 2 person that's going to show up.
There's going to be 2 people over there, and we're going to have party hats. I don't know. We're going to have to see. And I don't know. Maybe.
I think if we do these meetups, I think it would be better if it was. I mean, I don't really mind if it's in NY, in New York, but like I thought maybe in Sacramento. I don't know.
Yeah, we might do one in maybe the Sacramento area,
or maybe in the Bay Area.
Or in the Bay Area first, and then if we move to New York, we might do one here in New York. Because it's crazy. Because when I look at our analytics, I see that the majority of nurses that follow us are either from California, New York, or Texas. Those are the majority of them, and then Florida is like a little bit right below Texas.
But he always gets recognized in California. I'm just so glad nobody recognizes him in New York.
So far, it hasn't happened in New York.
He looks like everybody else here.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. But when we were in Houston before.
Oh yeah, in the airport, somebody recognized him.
Yeah, so, out of all places.
I was just like,
Yeah, but she was really sweet. And
everybody's been sweet. Everybody's been great. But I just thought, I think like somebody saw me. Oh, by the way, guys, I was at work, and usually I don't get recognized because I look like every other typical Filipino nurse there. And somebody kept looking at me, And I'm like, why is this dude looking at me? And I already kind of think in my head, I was like, he probably knows our channel. So he's like, wait, are you the girl that has a husband that has a YouTube channel?
Yeah.
I can't imagine because he always get recognized at work. But
That's true.
where I'm at, I'm just gonna put my mask on and just disappear.
Okay, yeah, I'm finding. Oh, hello from San Diego. Hey, Paula. The main genres
Yeah.
they write are thriller, romance, and sci-fi.
See, I told
Wow,
you.
that's
Erotica,
interesting.
erotica.
I'm near LA and cannot afford to buy a home as an RN. That's why you should not be living in LA, honestly.
Yeah, that's the reason why we don't live in New York,
Guys,
because we pretty
yeah.
much got outpriced in our own city, in
Yeah.
our own hometown.
Yeah.
So it's really sad.
Yeah, and we went. So before we decided to move to Sacramento, we went to San Diego, we went to San Francisco. We looked at the cost of living in those areas, and we're like, what is the point of moving here if it feels like we're either going to be out of more money at the end of the month because we have a higher cost of living, or we're not going to have any money left at all because the cost of living is exuberant, like in San Francisco. There's no way I would have even considered San Francisco when I looked at the rent prices, even when I took into account how much money we could make, because it's just, we looked at the Kaiser system and we're like, oh, we could make the same amount here in San Francisco that we can make in Sacramento. So why would anybody in their right mind choose to live in a place where they would have less money left over at the end of their pay at the end of the month? Sorry, our daughter's in the background. Okay. All right. What do you think about correctional nursing? You know, I wanted to interview this group of guys that work in correctional, as correctional nurses, but our schedules are so busy that we haven't been able to like match them up together. But they, from what I've been told, they love doing it, and the pay is decent. I forgot how much he told me, but it's up there. It's not bad. And it is less stressful for sure. That's what I've heard. So yeah, you should look into it. And I'll see if I can reach out to this nurse and maybe have them on one of our shows, because I only work 20 hours a week. So I have more flexibility in my schedule now than I ever used to. Okay. Is having experience a prerequisite to moving to California as a nurse? It's not a prerequisite, but I would recommend it, because getting a job as a new grad is going to be a lot harder here in California than anywhere else. And that's because, you know, we are high. So many people want to move to California. So you're competing against a lot of people who will have experience. So yeah, and then the students who do graduate here, there aren't as many nursing schools as you would think. So the ones that do graduate from here, they're like applying for all of the hospitals in the areas, and they usually get into the new grad programs. So you're going to have a lot of competition if you're trying to get into the new grad programs. All right. I love you guys. Okay. I'm a millionaire in San Francisco and can't afford a house either. Exactly, Michael.
Like,
that's
again,
my point.
You have to, how much do you have to make in order to be considered above the poverty?
Yeah, you know what? Let's do some research, guys. I'm just gonna pop this up real quick so we can find this out. Okay, so if you decide, let's see, because I remember I was looking at this before, and if you decide that you want to live in, let me make sure I can share this properly. Okay, there. Okay, so let's say you are planning. Okay, poor. Low income in San Francisco. Okay. So this was June 28, 2023. Let me see if that's the most accurate one. Look, sfgov.org. Okay, let's look at this one. And even SFGate. So let's see. All right. To be considered below the poverty line, let's see if I can zoom in here so I can show you guys. Okay. HUD defined low income limits in San Francisco as $82,000 for an individual and $117,400 for a family of four in 2018. But is that still the case now? Let me see. When is this data for? This is old data. We need new data. Hold on. And oh, you know what? It actually opened it in a different window. Hold on a second. Let's see if I can just look at the top. Let's go over here. Okay. Can you see that on there?
We gotta wrap it up because everybody's coming over here.
But can you see that on there?
Yeah, I can see it.
No. Okay, let me share this. Sorry, guys. Yeah, you can see it? Oh, okay.
I can see it. It's not really live.
Okay, okay, let me show. Okay. Where is it? Here. Okay, let's go down there. Single people in San Francisco who earn less than $104,000 are considered low income, according to new government guidelines that determine who qualifies for some housing aid. Can you believe that? If you're a single person earning $104,000, you're considered low income. That's crazy, guys. And I mean, obviously, if you're a nurse, that's basically what you're going to be making. Well, a little bit more than that. Obviously, you're going to be making more than that. Like, it's going to be like 150 to 200,000. But still, you don't want to be struggling if you're going to be working as a nurse. That's the whole point. That's why we tell you to move to Sacramento area, so you don't have to struggle. Okay, next. We're gonna end this really soon. Okay.
I just want to say, like, my family is they're trying to go to sleep. Okay, it's bedtime. It's like 10:30 New York, and so there's how many of us in this household? There's like 4, 5, 6. There's seven of us in a 3-bedroom apartment. So they're all trying to sleep in the living room, and they're bringing their blankets and their pillows. And I feel so bad because everybody's trying to go to bed, and they're trying to sleep in the living room. So we gonna have to wrap it up. So just like maybe 2 more questions.
Yeah. Okay. Let's see. Quick. I got hired. That's why LL. You can interview me in a couple of months. Yes, please. I want to interview you. So I get an idea of how it is. The pay is 108, but with the benefits, it's like 120 in LA. Okay, that's not too bad in LA. 120. I guess that's decent. I mean, the cost of living is still going to be higher there than it is in our area, but still, that's not too bad. Okay. I live in Canada. Don't know what an ADN is. ADN in the US is a nurse with a 2-year degree. It's not a licensed practical nurse, but it's a registered nurse with a 2-year degree. It's like an associate's degree. So it's associate degree in nursing. Whereas a nurse that goes to school for 4 years is a BSN, a Bachelor's of Science in Nursing, or Baccalaureate of Science, bachelor's. Okay. I think y'all write a good story with all your experience as nurses, and then a great movie or serial. That's funny. Okay, 150 in Southern California. Nope. Your screen isn't working. Oh, sorry.
I think it's working now.
I hope you saw it. Okay. Okay. I'm a final year student, nursing student. See your channel from Pakistan. Wow. Trying to motivate myself and looking about future in California. Lots of love. Wow. Yeah. Best of luck to you guys. Okay, we're gonna end it here. Okay. We will see you guys next Thursday, November 30th. Okay. I'm gonna have Steven on that live stream, and any questions you guys have about investing in real estate, whether it's something that you've always wanted to know about real estate, or something you might just want some clarification on, go to that live stream. Okay. All right, guys. See you next week.